Stella! Another one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car!
Alright, I've been wanting to watch this movie for quite a while. This is Machete. That's how they say it in the movie. Machete. I'll just call him Machete. 2010. This is a Robert Rodriguez movie. And I love the way that this movie came about being made, actually, if you don't know. So, a couple years ago, Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, they work on a lot of stuff together. They did 2 movies. It's called The Grindhouse. Together, it's called, The Grindhouse. And they each did a separate movie. So, Robert Rodriguez did Planet Terror, which is a zombie movie. And Quentin Tarantino did Death Proof. It was kind of like a car chase movie. And they played it all together in one big movie. So it was 4.5 hours if you saw it in theater, which I actually did with my brother. And in between the 2 movies, and I think actually there were some before the first movie as well, they did a bunch of fake trailers for movies, just fake Grindhouse movies. And Machete was one of them. And it's actually pretty similar to the official trailer, so it's kind of funny. If you watch the actual trailer for this movie, it's pretty similar to the Grindhouse one. You can go back and watch that one as well. You can find it on the internet pretty easy. And there's a couple other really good fake trailers from some pretty big name directors. Eli Roth did one called Thanksgiving, and I think Rob Zombie did one about the werewolf as people. But anyways, so this movie is based on that trailer, and I guess he's actually had the story written for a long time. Robert Rodriguez, he wrote it in high school or something, maybe. I thought I read, and I think I also read in the trivia that this character actually shows up in the Spy Kids movies as well. I've never seen any of those. Those are, again, directed by Rodriguez, but he must show up as a villain or something in those, I think. So in this movie, Machete is a federale in Mexico, and at the very beginning, his family, or at least his wife, gets killed by a big drug lord named Torres. And then they think they killed him, but they didn't, and he shows up 4 years or so later, and he's in America. He's just kind of doing menial work, day labor stuff. And then we start getting introduced to all the side characters. So one of the first people he meets is Michelle Rodriguez. She plays Luce, and they think she is a kind of starting a rebellion, a little underground group of people. And mostly Jessica Alba's character is kind of watching her. Her character is Sartana. And then one day, Machete gets picked up by a guy named Michael Booth, and he's played by Jeff Fahey. He's been in some other Rodriguez films like Planet Terror. He's a pretty good actor. And so he picks him up and hires him to kill a senator. And the senator is Senator McLaughlin, who is played by Robert De Niro. It's a good cameo. It's more than a cameo. It's a pretty good role for him. But then he gets betrayed. So they give him a bunch of money to do this, and he's about to do the assassination, and he gets shot by one of Michael Booth's men, the guy that hired him. And then, so they're in kind of a scramble. He doesn't get killed when they shoot him, and he goes to the hospital, and they're trying to find him. So you have Michael Booth trying to find him, and eventually it all gets kind of turned into one big mess of things. So we learn that Michael Booth is working for the Senator McLaughlin, who's De Niro. And then that gets turned into a connection with Torres, who's actually, I don't think I mentioned, he's played by Steven Seagal. It was really funny. And so they all end up being connected, and Machete's trying to get help from Luce, and then at the same time, even though Sartana is trying to kind of break down on Luce, she starts helping Machete too. So you have Machete's side, who is Sartana and Luce, and they're helping him, and they're all going against Michael Booth, Senator McLaughlin, and Torres. It's kind of a confusing plot. A couple other characters are in there too. Some good cameos. Don Johnson plays a man named Vaughn Jackson, and he's working on the border, and he doesn't like the illegal immigrants. And then Lindsay Lohan also makes a cameo. She plays Michael Booth's daughter. This is also actually at the same time in real life when there's a big debate in Arizona about illegal immigrants coming over from Mexico. And excuse me. And there's a big deal about building, a wall. And that's the big thing. Is you're going to build a big wall on the Mexico-American border to keep the immigrants from coming over. So this kind of came out at the same time as a sort of a response to the social commentary and stuff like that about what's happening in real life. And it's really good. It's really entertaining. It's really graphic. So it's extremely violent. There's quite a bit of nudity at the beginning, and then a bit later, it kind of eases off the nudity. But a lot of swearing, a lot of violence. If you don't know the Grindhouse movies, that kind of whole setup is a lot of violence, a lot of nudity and stuff like that. Kind of exploitation type films. So yeah, that's basically the plot. I don't want to get all the way into it if you're gonna watch it, but it's pretty much exactly what I was hoping it would be. Really entertaining. Steven Seagal's performance is really funny, especially towards the end. I wasn't really expecting that at all, but he's good. All the actors are great. I mean, Robert De Niro in there, Jessica Alba, Michelle Rodriguez are really good. I really like Jeff Fahey. He hasn't been in much, but he's kind of been a regular in Rodriguez movies. Cheech Marin has also makes an appearance. He's in a ton of Robert Rodriguez movies like Desperado and From Dusk Till Dawn. He plays a priest, and there's also Machete's brother. So yeah, nobody really can touch Rodriguez when it comes to these types of movies, these grindhouse movies. He's just so good at making them, and they're so entertaining. Of course, you have Planet Terror, which kind of started it all. But even before then, Desperado has a lot of that kind of style too. Desperado's more serious, but at the same time, it has a little bit of that comedic aspect to it and kind of over-the-top violence. Also with From Dusk Till Dawn, and then Sin City is really good. It's not as grindhousey. That's more noir, but still has. That's based on a graphic novel, so it has that kind of element to it. But yeah, I couldn't even really think of any other kind of directors to put into the same category as this movie with him. One that I saw recently was that Bounty Killer movie. That has a pretty good connection to this, I think. It's obviously not done on the same scale, doesn't have nearly as good of actors, and it's not nearly as polished as what Rodriguez can make, but that's a good kind of next step down in a grindhouse film. But that's really good, I think. The plot was very similar to something like Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, where he gets framed for shooting a politician and stuff like that. That's what I thought of with the plot. Of course, there's a sequel, Machete Kills. Really funny because at the end of this movie they say, Machete returns and Machete kills, and then they made it. That's really funny, so I want to see that one. That should be good. Yeah, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. That's great. Really funny. Ton of action. It's exactly what you're hoping it would be. Don't go into this thinking it's going to be tame. It's not. I mean, lots of gory violence. It is, a little bit more on the comedic side. It's not, I don't know, it's pretty graphic, but if you know what it is. So yeah, definitely check it out if you like Rodriguez at all. This is right up his alley, and I think he's one of the best directors to make these types of movies. So, yeah, I guess for my sign-off, I'll say they messed with the wrong Mexican.